YouTube. What's up? Thanks for being here. Thanks for catching a live stream. Or catching a replay of a live stream. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for doing that. We're going to be underway here shortly. We're just getting some things set up. You can tell probably behind me if you've been following along. It's a new backdrop for me. We, wife and I moved to the new house. So the move is done. We're here. The office is set up. So it's nice. My lighting is not, as you can probably tell, but that's okay. So, yeah, excited for, kind of the next phase of Fifth and Goal, if you will. We've got a lot of exciting things on the way, so I'm very excited. I have it all planned out. It's all scheduled out. So it's good. It's exciting. So we are gonna get away. Yeah, as I said, we're gonna get underway here in just a minute. Josh dipped real quick to get some food. Johnny's on his way in. So if you can't tell already from the thumbnail, we're talking baseball. We're talking specifically the Oakland Athletics. We're going to talk more than just that, but the Oakland Athletics, their entire payroll is like $48 million. Kyler Murray signs with the Arizona Cardinals, who the Oakland Athletics drafted in the first round. He signed for like $46 million. Dang, Josh. All right.
It's an actual espresso cruffin.
That's amazing.
Hey, YouTube, how's it going?
Hang on. One of these scenes was correct at one point. What if I do this?
Oh.
Nope, that didn't work. What if I do this? Hey, there we go. Now you can see both of us. That's amazing.
Yes, it was just they were just in a big brown bag.
All right.
Which is the safest way of delivering those.
Well, I can tell you that is one thing you do not get with a house. You do not get free food.
That is fair.
It doesn't show up. There are advantages.
Yeah, I mean, it is not quite. We're not quite living independently here. I mean, it does at times, like, you know, when Espresso Cruffins makes its way through the group chat. It does not feel like I'm living on my own. It does feel like I'm still living in a dorm. But it's a dorm where people. It's a dorm where I can lock my door and everyone gets it.
Yeah. There you go. That's a fair way of putting it.
I don't have to worry about locking my door at 11 o'clock because someone's chasing me with a 12-foot long plunger.
Yeah. If you know, you know. Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah, good times. So this is a question I want to ask at some point. And if we don't get it during the show, then we'll ask it now for our audience that's tuning in either live or on demand here on YouTube. But it's interesting, the Kyler Murray thing, right? He gets drafted by the Oakland Athletics in the first round. He obviously chooses football. And now he's basically making the equivalent of the entire Oakland Athletics payroll. It's a combination of him being overpaid probably for at least what he's accomplished so far in his career. And obviously the Oakland Athletics, just an abysmal franchise right now.
Oh, sure.
But I want to talk about this.
Rebuilding since 1967.
If we get a chance, I want to talk about it because why did the Cardinals have to put in his contract? And Johnny, you shared Dan Orlovsky's tweet about this. Why did the Cardinals have to put in his contract that he would watch 4 hours of game film a week? Number one, you would think he's doing that already, so that's not even something they have to consider. Number two, 4 hours is not very long.
No.
At all.
I also want to know.
I've watched YouTube docuseries longer than that.
Colin Cowherd says this all the time, and it's a very good point. Things are released when someone wants it to be.
Yeah.
This was probably most likely not just a random reporter reading every detail of his contract. Somebody leaked that to a specific reporter.
The Cardinals have been leaking stuff throughout this whole process.
Right, but why? So why, after you've already finalized the contract, why would you kind of humiliate? Because it looks worse on Kyler than the Cardinals.
Oh yeah.
Why would you humiliate him in that way? Like, what is there to gain here?
Right.
Is there some spin on it that I'm not thinking through from his agent's perspective that he would actually be the one to leak it? Is it the Cardinals? Because you're right, Aaron, they've been leaking stuff the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by that aspect too. Like, who wanted this leaked? It's that part of it is extremely interesting to me too. I'm not sure.
Yeah, we can get into it more if we have time, because that's fascinating.
It is.
I mean, I can make it
all
what
aspects
I'm following.
Of it. Yeah.
But wildlife hating me is also fun.
Oh, what?
So, yeah.
When I saw that, I got scared. Like, what happened? Oh no!
Yeah, I need to know. You're okay.
The
That's
car
good.
is relatively okay.
Oh
We're all
no!
good.
Oh no,
Is it
We're
a
all
deer?
No.
Oh, okay.
it was Sammy.
Sammy the squirrel?
No, what was the skunk? What was the name of the skunk?
Oh yeah, no, you're right. It was Sam the skunk. You're right.
Oh yeah. No, not a skunk.
Okay.
I mean, the car truly is okay, but I hit another, like, a bird went kamikaze on me again.
Dang.
Gosh.
And I ran over a chipmunk the other day, and I'm just like,
gosh.
what? Why?
Brandon.
Oh, man.
we're going to discuss.
Honestly, how dare.
Yes, that sounds
do,
good.
do birds hate me? So
Don't microwave the espresso cruffin. Gosh.
All right.
Sorry, I just got reminded again why I wouldn't mind moving away from a dorm.
amen, Josh.
I'll save it for
Amen.
I'll save it for the podcast. It'll be good. It'll be a good intro.
Sounds good. Well, I'm ready. I've got my recording started. If you guys are good. Do you guys have any questions about anything on the notes?
No,
it should be a fun.
I haven't been following expansion as much as you guys, so as far as like news on that, I'll let you guys kind of lead the way. But I'm more than happy to rant about how terrible the Coliseum is. So I can do that.
Oh, we'll spend good 20 minutes on that.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool,
Yeah.
very good.
All right. Sweet.
I am recording now.
I am in.
All right. Let's do it.
We're good.
Welcome to the Fifth and Goal podcast. My name is Aaron. I am joined once again by my good friends Josh and Jonny. Guys, it's good to be back. We missed last week. If you didn't see it on Twitter, I was in the process of moving. I'm now at the new house. Jonny has ongoing injured list issues going on there. We'll maybe get into that more. And Josh, we were just kind of afraid you might have just melted on the sidewalk in Texas. How are things there?
I have tried very desperately to gain weight in the past 2 weeks. And for the life of me, I cannot. I am still dropping weight. I did a short walk yesterday. Nothing crazy, barely 3 miles, drenched by the end of it. Now, I did it in the afternoon, which is generally when people expect it to be its hottest. So, I'm walking around in the 105 degrees with however much humidity. But at this point, I got to get exercise somehow. So
That's fair.
you deal.
I respect it. I respect it.
I'm building up weight right now. So I live in an apartment complex, and there's a common room that people will just dump food off at sometimes because we're all poor college kids and seminary students. Like, you're just poor. So I'm eating currently an espresso cruffin, which is great. And obviously, only YouTube cares about it.
Please explain to me, common men, what a cruffin is.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's a great question, Jonny. Thank you for
know.
asking. I'd love to tell you,
Yes.
because I've never had one until about 3 minutes ago. The cruffin, as you can see visually, is
On the podcast, of course.
Yes,
on the
of course.
podcast, of
For
course.
you listeners specifically.
Audio description. That's you got to pay extra for that.
Yeah.
It is the flakiness of like croissants.
Yes.
But now this was also, when I went up to get one of these, it was in fact part of like a dozen that were just in a big brown bag. So they kind of got squished a little bit, but it is generally, I think, ideally muffin shaped when it comes out of the oven. But
That's no way to treat pastries.
that's
Europeans
no way to
would be
treat pastries.
horrified.
They, good thing. How many listeners do we have in Europe, Aaron? Too many.
More than
Guys,
zero.
it doesn't matter. And
We have
it's-
enough. If that's
we
the
have
correct
enough.
answer to your question.
Listen, I don't need some. Listen, we get it. Your country's older than ours. You have buildings older than our Constitution. I don't care. I'm gonna eat my espresso cruffin, and I'm gonna like it.
What's the country of origin, Josh?
It's a country of origin, America. Croissants were invented in America, so it's our thing
gosh.
anyway. No, croissants were invented in America. Look it up.
Wait, really?
Yeah, like Jack in the Box. Hold on.
Jack in the
Are we
Box.
Oh,
doing
hang
this?
on. No
Hold
way.
on.
There's
Jack in
no
the Box
way.
did not invent croissants, you liar.
There's no shot. That can't be right.
No, not a chance. I love it. I haven't even been able to tell you guys how I'm doing.
Yeah,
yet.
go ahead, Johnny.
It took
While
us
we
a
debate
minute to
this.
get derailed.
Yeah.
This is
Okay,
record
you know what?
time.
Wikipedia says 13th century in Austria. I ignore that. I reject that actively.
Oh gosh.
Oh gosh. Like the
I
one we
believe
see
it.
today.
From someone who's eaten a croissant in Austria, from a gas station in Austria, that was the best croissant I've ever had. I absolutely agree with Wikipedia. And like always, children, Wikipedia is a solid resource.
Yes,
No
it
matter
is.
what your teachers
That
or
is a-
professors tell you, it is the source of all knowledge.
Yes. Yes, it is. Anyways, Johnny, to you though. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. Today found out that I don't need screws put in my hands. So that's always
Hey.
Great.
that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So, just 3-4 more weeks on the injured list. So, take small victories.
Well, absolutely. I think we should take bets now. Who returns first, Johnny or Jacob deGrom? My money is on Johnny, for the record. But anyways.
Now, coming back healthy or coming back?
Just
if
back.
you're saying coming back, then definitely me.
Yes.
Either
way you take, yeah, you're right. Either way
I'm
you
the
take
favorite in that case.
Yes,
So,
yes, absolutely. Well, good. Yeah, my week was good. As I mentioned, I moved to the house, which is exciting. So, yeah, again, I will take kind of the fall for last week. I was the main reason why we did not record because I had microphones everywhere and yeah, just was not going to happen. But anyways, good to be back. Yeah, in the new house, got the office all set up. So exciting there. So yeah, good week, busy week. It's nice to sit down and just chat about some sports. And today, guys, we're going to talk some baseball. And we're going to do the thing where we talk about baseball without really talking about baseball. You know what I mean? But I promise at the end, we'll actually cover what's actually happening in baseball right now. We just had the All-Star break. We just had the Home Run Derby, all of the fanfare that surrounds the Midsummer Classic. So consider this kind of our Midsummer baseball review of, yes, what's actually happened on the field, but there's some interesting kind of side stories per usual when you're considering baseball. Josh, something that you and I have kind of been following more recently is Major League Baseball expansion. So Major League Baseball has kind of hinted at for a while that they're looking to expand their league to 32 teams, kind of similar to what the NHL has done when they added the Las Vegas Golden Knights and when they added the Seattle Kraken. We're looking at something potentially similar. So, and this is considering that you have to go way back to 1998 for the last two teams to be added to Major League Baseball, that being the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Tampa Bay Rays. In the midst of this discussion, there's also the fact that the Oakland Athletics are horrible, both the product on the field and the field itself. So with all that being said, Josh, what do you think we're going to see from Major League Baseball expansion coming up?
This is such a good question, and it's something that I've been interested in just because, when it comes to team expansions, it's one thing for a college to maybe have on its campus a designated area for building a stadium. Places like Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, these guys, you're going to have to probably get a little bit more land and a little bit more government intervention. But for the most part, the college we all went to, you just plop it down on a plot of land and it's for the most part okay. When it comes to professional teams, NFL, NHL, NBA, and of course MLB, you have to kind of work with and kind of finagle the local city that you're in order to sell this idea. And so it's one sense yeah, the MLB would love to make it a nice even 32 teams. Probably make some scheduling a little bit easier, and you're adding even numbers, so you're not balancing National League or American League any higher or lower. In one sense, that's nice. In another sense, where are you putting them? And are the local cities, communities not only willing to do it, but have the extra, perhaps, funds or even willing to make those sacrifices? Because a lot of times these stadiums are built using tax breaks, tax incentives, with the promise of bringing in a certain number of, extra business money, investing in the local economy over the course of, decades. And so, when the Marlins throw something down in Miami. They're saying, well, we're going to bring enough extra money to Miami where it's worth it for them to invest the money in giving us the land. Or like, let's go back to the Columbus Crew, for example. Like there was a whole thing about, I don't even remember his name. It doesn't matter. I do remember his name. I'm not going to say it.
It's like a curse word on this show.
No, say it, Josh.
Listen, I live within 3 hours of him still, and it makes me upset.
Yeah, that's true.
But when
They're
Anthony,
doing quite well this year. I hope they meet in the final.
that'd be kind of fun.
That's all I want.
There's more to consider than just like quality of team. Precourt wanted prime real estate within Columbus, and that comes at a premium. That's something that the government can sell to a business and actually get tax money on, unless they're just generally incentivizing. I mean, listen, you didn't come here to listen to three white guys in their mid-20s talk about politics. You came here to listen to three white guys in their mid-20s talk about sports. But like,
that's right.
Different podcast.
Yeah.
But like, unfortunately, it becomes a lot more complicated. So
Yes.
I honestly think, and we've seen this too with how the MLB commissioner, Rob Manfred, so sorry about the door. We've seen this too with MLB's commissioner, Rob Manfred. He's even been talking, and he's been quoted as saying like we should probably figure out Oakland's and Tampa Bay first.
Right.
And that's true. And honestly, both of them are almost in a little bit more of a emergency situation. Sounds a little bit more dire than it really is.
No, that's pretty true.
The deal with the Coliseum that the Oakland A's have expires in 2024.
Yeah.
At this point, last I checked, the project in Oakland, the Howard Johnson Memorial, whatever it is,
because they want a whole like
it's a $12 billion investment.
Right, but it's much
thing.
more than the baseball stadium. It's like
Exactly.
revitalizing the whole area of the town.
The whole Bay Area, yeah. The estimates are 5 years minimum to get that going. And so what do? You sign another few years with a really terrible stadium. Would you just give up and go to Vegas? Because at this point, there's apparently money going on down there.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you have the Rays, and the Rays are doing great from a product on the field standpoint.
Yep.
Yeah.
However, they are ranked third worst in overall attendance. They've only brought in to date, I don't know when this one is dated, but they've only brought in about 670,000 people this season. They are 28th among the 30 teams. They're above Miami and Oakland.
Oof.
That's it. And that's also very sad because that's a great team that has done really, really good things. It's a very wise team. It's a team that knows what they're doing. It's talented, passionate players that are drawing nobody. Now, having never been to Tampa Bay, I've heard that where they are located is hard to get to. It doesn't make sense to get to, and it's just not an incentivizing for people to go.
It's like 30 minutes outside of Tampa Bay. I mean, it's in St. Petersburg. It's like 30 minutes
Which is
away.
not, that's not even, that's nothing. And so, like, that's a very real concern. At the same time, is Tampa Bay, the city, the local government, motivated enough to do anything about it? Because they're looking at the numbers going, well, are we really going to attract that many more people, even if it's a good team? Is this a city that wants a baseball team, regardless of how good it is? And that's unfortunately another real consideration. So you might see two teams move before we even get to this expansion talk.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
Josh, it is an emergency. That's not an overstatement because what we're about to talk about with the Oakland Athletics, I'll save that for here just a couple minutes. But the other thing is, it's an emergency when the Tampa Bay Rays are like, hey, Montreal, you guys used to have a baseball team. What if we split games? We have one team that plays in both Montreal and Tampa Bay. That's how desperate the situation is. It's not only that this team is 30 minutes on a good traffic day away from Tampa Bay. Their dome is weird. It's quirky. It's unique. It's kind of fun. Like, sometimes a ball gets stuck up on the catwalk. But from a fan perspective, like an enjoyment, a visual aesthetic appeal, it's pretty terrible. It really is. It's pretty bad. So we are emergency level. That's not overstating things.
The difference here, so like I'm going to bring it back to the Crew a little bit, just because we've dealt with a little bit of expansion talk and like losing a team before. And the issue with the Crew, and it's been proven this year, I mean, there's been 7 sellouts already for the Crew this year, and they're a borderline playoff team. They're not even excellent. They've been injected with some life, obviously, with free agent signing, but it's not the point. The Crew also had a really, really bad location for their original stadium. Now, it was in Columbus. Columbus is much bigger, though, than Tampa. It is, truly. Even though people might not think that. It is. And it was in Columbus, but it's at the fairgrounds. It's hard to get to. If you'd ever been to the game, there was one way in and one way out. It would take you an hour after the game just to get out of the parking lot. It would drive you crazy. Yet that stand was full the year they made it and lost to Portland in the MLS Cup final. Still full, still people out there supporting the team. Tampa Bay has made it to the World Series. They've been consistently good for a really, really long time. I know it might be hard to get there, but if people really care and are passionate and the team is that consistently good, I do have a bit of a hard time hearing that and saying, you guys are World Series contenders. You're competing for the division. And I know it's baseball, so I'm not expecting sellouts, but you're the 3rd worst compared to everybody else.
Really
so
bad.
So typically I give the benefit of the doubt and like, well, the location is like really, really bad. And the Crew's attendance has improved even more so being in a good location, of course. And I think Tampa's attendance would improve some. Would it really improve enough? And so that's really the discussion here. My argument, look at college baseball. Where is the richness in college baseball? It's in the SEC. And so Tampa is technically in that country. However, Florida's a little weird with their professional teams. They really love the Miami Heat and kind of their football teams when they choose to, when they're good. Like they really aren't very staunch supporters. They don't live and die by those teams. You know who lives and dies by their teams? New Orleans, Nashville, or Memphis.
Yep.
And Tennessee has excellent baseball. They love Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, you make fun of them in football. They're outstanding in baseball. I think Nashville would be a fantastic location for the Rays to relocate. Tennessee loves baseball. The South loves baseball. I think it'd fit really well. They're more recent when it comes to having an MLS team. But other than the MLS team and the Titans, that's it. That's all they got. And I think they're growing as a city a ton. I think Nashville would be an outstanding choice. There's a gaping hole there in Major League Baseball too.
Yep.
There's no one in that realm of the country, really, when it comes like a lot of them are Braves fans. Atlanta's far away. I think Nashville would be a fantastic location to move the Rays. I'm not typically one to move clubs. I don't necessarily like that, but if they're not being supported at all, I think it's a really, really good option. I really would love to see the Rays move to Nashville. I just think they'd be supported really well for as good of a team as they are.
Yeah, Nashville's a really good example. I'd love to see that. And Jonny, to your point, right? Like we're bringing up the Crew multiple times in this conversation. We know the pain that comes if you think your team is moving. We know, and we're not wishing that on anybody. It could be better for the sport if the Rays move, if the Athletics move. I guess probably the best of both worlds is the Athletics figure stuff out. They get that, that $1 billion complex, I guess, maybe a better word than actually just a stadium. The Tampa Bay Rays actually move into Tampa Bay. Turns out, hey, when they're actually in the city, they are supported well. And then you add a team like Nashville. Maybe you do add a Montreal or I've even heard of like Portland would be an interesting place. Seattle
they
goes
love
crazy.
too.
Yeah, they love baseball too. So there's a lot of opportunities. Overall, this will be a good thing for Major League Baseball. You add 2 franchises, you're only adding value, you're only adding income. And that's really true for any professional sport, but that's true of baseball here. And guys, quite frankly, part of the challenge here is the fact of the salary cap differences between the NFL, the NBA, and Major League Baseball, because ticket prices matter so much for a franchise, because that directly impacts the amount of money, frankly, that you have to pay players. It's that simple. That's not really a concern when you have the kind of revenue sharing that the NFL has or the kind of salary cap that the NFL has. It's not like Jerry Jones in Dallas and his mansion can go sign, 10 of the best 30 players simply because they fill seats for $1,000 a head. That's not how it works. Whereas the Dodgers fill their largest stadium in Major League in the Major League of all 30 parks. They fill it almost every night, partially because it's LA. They've got a great product. The Dodgers are fantastic, but they are raking in the cash, and then they can sign players like Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts on the same team. So it's interesting. There's a lot of things that go into it. And before we completely move off this subject, I feel like we have to talk about just how bad the Coliseum is, because we're really not being overdramatic here. It is actually truly that bad. Josh, there was kind of a revelation the last, I guess like 2 months ago. There's been sewage issues at the Coliseum, and more recently, there has been, I don't know, is an infestation the right word? Is that a good word to use for this?
Yeah.
The sigh.
It says it all.
Yeah, I mean... Oh, wait, hold on. Maybe I'm thinking of something different.
Well, there's multiple problems, so...
Are we talking about the E. coli?
Oh, no, I was not talking about that, but please do, because I've got a follow-up story after you get through the E. coli.
Yeah, Angels.
Oh,
the Angels complained about E. coli in the visiting team's training room.
Jeez.
After one of those backups, which is fantastic. They had to stop. Oh my gosh, this goes back. I mean, even 10 years ago. Lou Wolf says that Oakland has the Coliseum has a few like built-in restaurants that are like more sit down. And he tried to go to one of those, and he said due to sewage leaks, they actually shut down the restaurant service for the night.
Oh no. Oh no.
And that's not great.
No, that is
so
not
that's
great.
what I thought you were talking about. What
no,
else
I'm talking about, so that is all true. I'm talking about a couple months ago. This is an article from Yahoo Sports. This was posted June 10th by Barry M. Bloom. Part of me wants to think there's no way that's his real name. That's got to be a pen name. Anyways, doesn't matter. I'm sure Mr. Bloom is a very nice man. Apparently the Athletics have a cat infestation. They have dozens of cats that are just wandering around the Coliseum, as cats do, pooping everywhere. And so that's something else on top of the human sewage that apparently is just leaking from this stadium. Guys, here's the other thing too, and you have to go back a few years. The Coliseum is the last remaining like NFL Major League Baseball hybrid. That used to be the thing for stadiums back in the 70s. Everyone had this perfectly circular stadium that the Coliseum is. You played both NFL and Major League Baseball. And if you look back at highlights, you'll see the Raiders they were playing games in Oakland, and they'd get to like the 40-yard line and suddenly it became the infield, or vice versa. You'd be playing baseball and there was the 50-yard line. So just not a good look from that perspective. So it's just outdated. I mean, even people in the athletics organization, it's not like they're not aware of this. Dave Cavall, he's the club's president. I mean, he said this stadium is 10 years past its useful life. I would argue we're probably at 20 years past its useful life by now. But it's really bad. So it makes it worse that the product on the field from the Athletics is also so bad. You guys probably saw this. Kyler Murray, Arizona Cardinals quarterback, was drafted by the Oakland Athletics in the first round. There was this big to-do. Will he play baseball? Will he play football? Obviously, he picked football. And the Arizona Cardinals are going to pay him roughly $46 million a year. Now, we can debate whether that's too much. I would say the answer is probably yes to that for what he's done so far in his career. But regardless, he's making about $46 million a year. Guys, the entire Oakland Athletics payroll is $48 million a year. Kyler Murray is making basically as much as the entire Oakland Athletics organization. That's insane. That's insane. It's bad. The situation in Oakland is really bad. Rob Manfred, Josh, you mentioned it. He's kind of up in arms, like something's got to happen. And you're right. It's complicated. There's politics, there's city stuff, there's taxes, there's all of these things that kind of go into a new stadium or a relocation. So we'll see. I do think Las Vegas, there's a very good chance that's where the Athletics end up. There's a very good chance.
Yeah. I don't want them there personally.
No, I don't either.
Like I don't think what is I'm happy that the Raiders are working out as well as they are.
Yeah.
I don't think that's sustainable. Continuing to move club after club after club to Vegas. Honestly, I don't think it's a sustainable city in general. That's another topic, but it's in the middle of a desert.
That's our
come on.
politics podcast.
there you go.
My. But I agree with you. That's the most likely situation. If this was the NFL, and I think that's what Manfred needs to start asking himself, this team would have been moved 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I personally, we're talking about, I'd like to see them get moved to Portland. I would honestly love to see a second Canadian team. I don't know what Vancouver's stomach would be, though, to have a team, but I would love to kind of pair somebody up with Seattle there up in the Northwest. I think that could be a really fun new rivalry.
Oh, yeah. Were you saying a regional-based rivalry? and not just expanded across the entire length of the country? What a concept. What a crazy thought.
Well done,
my
Josh.
gosh.
Well done.
But Portland or Vancouver, I think would be, if you, again, follow college baseball, Oregon State is a fantastic college program, consistent all the time. Clearly, they love and have the stomach for baseball out there. Portland only has the Trailblazers. I think they could definitely support another club over there. So I think that would be really cool. And that's where, at least, again, I think there's a lot of A's fans. I think the A's are actually supported really, really well. So again, like what Aaron said, ideally I'm seeing them stay put where they are.
Yeah.
Part of the problem is, though, that not having a soft salary cap is killing baseball. It's killing it. It's killing it. And you don't have owners that are able to keep up and invest in the team. So you have a team like the Athletics that has made the playoffs many, many times, but it's out of sheer willpower and outsmarting people and wheeling and dealing.
Yeah.
But they never have a real chance to actually win the thing.
I mean, this is the whole plot of Moneyball. It's not a new problem.
Yeah. It doesn't
it's a cool triumph of hey, we can play the stats at the same time. Like you said, it's not sustainable.
Well, and
can make
you talk about Moneyball, and it was such a great story,
thing.
and you had that you had those teams that won a bunch of games. Well, here's the problem. Then every other team, including the Dodgers, the Red Sox, and the Yankees, also did Moneyball, just with way more money than everybody else. So yeah, the Athletics, that run was amazing. And to be honest, the Tampa Bay Rays are still doing that. They're still way ahead of people because of how they scout.
Yeah.
Their minor league system's just in.
Even the Rays spend more money than the A's.
There we go. I think we're good. Sorry, YouTube. I think we cut out there for a second.
Yeah, it stuttered a sec. I think you're okay.
Okay. Sorry. Well, I don't know. What was I? Oh, yeah. I was just talking about the Rays.
Tampa Bay, yeah.
But Tampa also is willing to spend a little bit of money.
Well, right.
At least,
what they give Wander Franco,
less than
250 million.
No one spends less than Oakland, except maybe Cincinnati.
Oh yeah. There we go. There's your Reds. There's your Reds shout out for the episode.
There it is. There it is. But they don't spend money. They don't have any. And that's really, really hurting baseball. And the A's aren't the same problem as Tampa. The ratings are bad because the stadium's absolutely atrocious, as what you guys have said. But I think they have a real fan base there, especially with the Warriors going across the bay. They lost the Raiders. Oakland's losing everyone.
Yeah.
I think they would. That's why this is a desperate push for them to kind of create this complex to keep the team, but the city's bankrupt. They have no money. I'm sorry to say it, but they're probably going to lose them too. But, you saw I hated when the Rams got moved from St. Louis to LA, but it worked. They had one of the highest revenues in the entire league, the Rams did this year. Money talks. And right now the A's aren't making money. I don't think the Rays are making money. Where they'd make money? Nashville, New Orleans, probably Portland or Vegas. They'd actually make some real money and be going to places that would really want them there. So it's hard to say that, but I think it's real. And you talked about the timeline specifically in Oakland, Aaron. I think it's inevitable. And I really feel bad because I think the Athletics actually have a really solid fan base.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with all that. It's just, you're right. It's bad timing. The fact that stadium, contract expires in 24. Well, yeah. It's the front office's fault or the ownership, whatever you want to call it. it's not all their fault, but yeah, it's complicated,
city's
but
fault,
it's
too.
Yeah.
yes.
Well,
it
the
is
city, I
city's
mean,
fault.
and again, not to get back into politics, the city is not motivated yet. The city wants to
Right.
throw, last I checked, it's either this $12 billion development, 1 billion of that would go towards the stadium and surrounding stuff. They want to throw more ports there. They almost want to switch industries entirely. And they almost want to force the city of Oakland's hands and go, we're no longer a sports city. We're going to be a
Well, they're
city that is exactly.
Yeah.
And they're almost leaning into it, which is like, again, sad for the fans because they're doing what they can. They're still season ticket holders. They're not many of them.
Yeah.
Like but like, even and on my
think they're
TikTok, I
seeing
don't
the
know.
writing on the wall.
Exactly. And that's kind of the sad thing. I mean, I don't know about you, Aaron, but at least on my TikTok For You page, like happen to be getting a bunch of videos of people visiting like all the MLB stadiums because people are starting to travel a little bit more this summer, and
Yeah.
everyone starts in LA, and you hit Dodgers, Angels, and then you hit Oakland's pretty soon. And like Oakland's really doing what they can. They've renovated the Coliseum's renovated a few little areas. Like there's some nice little pockets within that stadium. It looks very depressing for the most part, but they're trying. They're putting what little money they can into making it palatable.
Yeah.
And like, this is not a team. Just to mention the Reds again, this is not a team that's trying to dump players and just keep money just for like some greedy sake. It's not that, but they're also trying to invest what little they have into making the product a little bit better.
Yeah.
When they can, but yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I guess if it's any consolation, if that team does move, at least you have San Francisco not that far away. It's not like they're in the middle of nowhere and now they have to drive hours to get to a game. Yeah, you can still go to your Warriors games. They're in San Francisco. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure the Giants and Athletics fans don't necessarily get along, but maybe you'll get along better that the Giants are the only team in town now. I don't know. But we'll see. We're tracking that. The other thing we're tracking, and I don't know if we're going to spend a ton of time on this because we don't really have a lot of information at this point, but Juan Soto was offered a $440 million deal with the Washington Nationals. He turned it down, which seems crazy on the surface. But you dive a little bit into it. They were kind of pushing the way they were making money work. It was not. It's still valuable, but basically it's the present value is not as high. It'd be like the 20th richest contract ever, which is still good. But guys, in my opinion, the order of best baseball players goes Shohei Ohtani 1, Mike Trout 2, Juan Soto 3. He is deserving of perhaps the third-ish highest contract ever. And he will probably get that. Now that he is not signed with the Nationals, he and the Nationals are essentially working on a trade, but the Nationals are apparently pretty fed up with him because they just left him at the home run derby. He was supposed to take like a chartered flight back, like the Nationals take care of, because that's what you're supposed to do for your All-Stars. And apparently the Nationals just said, nah, that's okay. We're good. You're leaving us anyways. We don't care. So that kind of happened. So that's interesting. But so that's
the mature move.
Yeah, so pretty usual. But yeah, Soto will make at some point, and I believe he's a free agent next year. He turns 26. And he will be he will probably sign a contract worth upwards of $500 million, kind of like what we saw from Mike Trout. So we'll see what that team is. We'll see in the interim who wants to trade for him, what the price of that trade is. Which
I wouldn't be surprised, Aaron, real quick.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised, actually, if part of a trade, it's not an equivalent like 15-year deal. And he wants to sign closer to a 5, 6, 7-year deal and get a second shot at a contract too. So like whatever he signs might end up being like 5-year, 200 something.
Sure.
And it's just going to be more money per year. But that's just because I think he's 23. He'd be 28. He gets a second chance at a contract. That's actually more in his best interest probably than a 15-year deal anyway. So don't be surprised if you see St. Louis or San Diego throw that at him instead in a trade.
Yeah. And I misspoke. I think I said he was 26. You're right. He is just 23 years old. So
right.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So he's real good at baseball. Real good at baseball. So we'll see what happens with that. There will be a playoff contending team that will throw a lot of draft picks, a lot of prospects towards the Nationals. I don't know. I don't know if part of it's that he has kind of tasted the World Series and he wants to be on a franchise that will contend, and that's just frankly not where the Nationals are right now. and doesn't look like they'll be there in the next couple years. So I don't know if that's part of this situation or not, but it certainly might be. Yeah, you may see a 5 or 6 year contract because look, he's betting on himself now by turning down $440 million. He is betting on himself, and you're right. I don't think there's anything that would make me think that he wouldn't try to just do the same thing in 5 or 6 more years. So that's a good point. My segue was going to be, speaking of price tags on players, how about Kevin Durant? We haven't talked about him in a few weeks because there hasn't really been any news as far as where he would go.
Just see if any of his alt accounts are going to be like...
That's smart. That is smart.
I'll make sure to block him real quick.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for doing that. Because we're about to talk about him. Because the most recent rumor or potential team is the Boston Celtics, which, guys, the irony is that he would, if this goes through, it would be the second time that he would just simply join a team that beat him in the playoffs. Insert the classic Kevin Durant jokes here. Obviously, the Brooklyn Nets fell to the Boston Celtics in the first round by a game score of 0-4. So, what do you guys think about Kevin Durant to the Boston Celtics? It would probably be several draft picks. It would be Jaylen Brown in this trade for sure. The Celtics have said Jason Tatum, it's an absolute no. It's a non-starter for him to be involved in a trade. Again, I also have to point out the irony of the Celtics trading with the Nets, or really the Nets trading with the Celtics after the fleecing of the century. That core that Boston has now of Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown is really kind of thanks to the Brooklyn Nets. Anyways, guys, thoughts?
Don't do it, Boston. It's a trap. It's a trap.
Yeah.
Like, you've been this patient waiting on Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum to build up to what they are.
Yeah.
And you got game 6 of the NBA Finals. I would not trade that. I know they're this close, and I know they do need additional pieces to get that championship. I don't think standing pat is good enough. I don't. But what Brooklyn's asking from basically any team is an absolute absurd amount, and it would gut your team to the point where you're looking at KD, Jason Tatum. You get to keep Peyton Pritchard. You get to keep one of the Williams. You're really gutting your roster to make this happen. And I don't think that's wise. I think you've been patient this long. I think there's other moves that you can make to make this work and make this happen. I also don't think Jason Tatum and KD are really a perfect match. Like playing together, like you're talking about two wings. KD's obviously taller, but he doesn't play like he plays like a wing. He plays like a big man. You're not solving your point guard problem. I don't think it's wise. And what they're asking, because they want Marcus Smart in the deal too, and 5 first-round picks, and Jaylen Brown. And I'm just not about that. Now, if you're saying Jaylen Brown and 3 first-round picks, I do it. But I'm not doing Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart and Grant Williams and 5 first-round picks. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
If I am the Celtics, you are gutting your roster. You have no bench, and look at KD's age. Look at KD's history with teammates. Do you trust him to lead the franchise going forward? And Jason Tatum is still trying to kind of finding his footing as far as leading the team. And I think you almost might be sabotaging his leadership growth by bringing in someone like KD. I think Jason has a good relationship with Jaylen, and that's kind of a partnership. And if anything, you need to bring in another guy who will join into that. Rather like Drew Holiday going to Giannis and like it's Giannis's team. I'm all about supplementing that rather than like it's my team now. I think you need more of that guy, and I don't think that's what's happening. So I think on the court, off the court, the amount that it would cost them, not a good idea.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
That is really well said. I agree. All of those reasons. Here's the other thing too. I don't think the Celtics, I mean, you said it, they went to game 6. And I know they probably don't get there without an injury to Chris Middleton, but you can make that story up for every team you can make that story up for the Golden State Warriors. You can run that drill forever. Here's the reality. The Boston Celtics went out and had perhaps the sneakiest, best offseason pickup when they grabbed Malcolm Brogdon I think that was a huge piece because he's a high-level defender, a good point guard option. He's not going to score 20 points a game. You don't need him to score 20 points a game. I thought that was an excellent pickup for the Boston Celtics. They basically gave away hardly anything to get him. They added Danilo Gallinari, who is older, nothing crazy, but they added depth. They are a 10-deep team, and that's what gets you to the playoffs and it gives you a deep run or an opportunity for a deep run. That's the reason why the Golden State Warriors were so successful this year. That's why they are going to be so successful moving forward, because of the bench players, the young bench players that didn't even play because they're not ready. But you give them an entire another season, and I know we've talked about this, over and over, so I'm not going to try to hit this point too much. But you have to have depth. One of the biggest reasons why the Brooklyn Nets fell on their face was, aside of just the fact that big three never worked from a personality standpoint, there was zero depth. Once Kyrie Irving went down with injury, or played half the games, once Kevin Durant went down with injury, once James Harden left, there was nobody to step up. There was not enough pieces. The Lakers got away with it because you had such great players in Anthony Davis and LeBron. But that's a once in a lifetime thing. You have to have depth. You have to. So you are sacrificing that depth for a player who, you're right, Jonny, is older. We don't know. I mean, he's been injured the last 3 years. Now, what he's done to come back from injuries is insane. The fact that he had that Achilles injury and came back and won a gold medal for the U.S. By the way, and I get it. I understand the attractiveness that having Kevin Durant on your team is, because sitting there rooting for Team USA in the Olympics, watching Kevin Durant score these insane buckets, I'm like, this is drugs. Like rooting for Kevin Durant, which I've never done in my life except for the Olympics. Just because he played for the Warriors against a team from Ohio. That's why. It's not, I don't have any personal dislike for, well, kind of, but you know what I mean?
I mean, at this point, it's developed.
Well,
it's developed, but I get it. But it is, at this point, when you're that close, it is not worth it. It is not. It is not.
No.
So.
Build for 10 and 15 year success, not maybe a championship in the next year or two.
Look at the Warriors, right? Like, I know they had Kevin, but that was also a free agent acquisition.
Yes.
They didn't give up anything for him. They did have to give up depth just because of the cap hit.
Yeah, but you had players taking pay cuts so they could get him. Yeah.
Exactly. And their ownership is willing to pay into the luxury tax as well. So it's a different story.
Yep.
Also, that team is organic. Look at that team right now. That team is set up even when Steph starts dropping off, which will be slow, not steep.
Yeah.
Once Clay could be better this coming year, but once Clay really starts dropping off finally, when Draymond will probably be the hardest guy to replace just because of the rare, weird set of skill sets that he has. They have guys. Kuminga's ready to replace Draymond. Poole is ready to replace Steph. You have Moody, who could be ready for Clay. You have Wiseman, who could come in. He's ready to go. You trust their front office with who they're drafting. The Celtics have done a great job drafting too. Maybe not to the extreme of Golden State, but follow that organic model. Follow it, because you could open up a window with KD where you have the 4-year window of going and trying to win a title. I guarantee you won't win it every year. You might get 1, 2 if you're lucky. And then you will be bad the next 4 or 5 years to try to regroup. Or you could be organic. You could stay consistent. You could work on free agencies. Good, solid, small trades like getting in Malcolm Brogdon, like you said, Aaron. Keep drafting well. Tatum and Brown are still 25 and 24. They're still getting better. Keep building. This could have a 10 to 15 year lifespan. It really could, if you treat this properly and don't get impatient with it. They've stayed patient this long. Remain patient. This team is growing. They're building. The players you have currently are still getting better. Yeah, they're still getting better.
Robert Williams is going to be so good in 2 or 3 years. So good.
Now that doesn't, and you're still adding depth. Yeah. And you're still drafting and investing into that. Continue to look at trades to figure out to bring in the best pieces that fit your core you already have. Don't go swinging big. Right now in the NBA, what's working is natural building up of teams through the draft, through of small acquisitions that fit the team chemistry and culture.
Yeah.
That's what is important. That's why Milwaukee won a title, a couple years ago. Because Drew Holiday probably wasn't the best part. I mean, nobody would say Drew's the best point guard in the league. He fit Milwaukee perfectly, though. He was the right player to fit into that team culture dynamic. Malcolm Brogdon could be the same for Boston, hypothetically. I'm not saying he will be, but he could be. And that makes more sense than let's go get Donovan Mitchell, who I think is wildly talented. But that is going to change the whole team dynamic. And that's not always actually going to improve your team overall.
Well, yeah, and when you're asking 8 first-round draft picks for Donovan Mitchell, I mean, that also gives you a sense of the price tag that Kevin Durant might ask. If Donovan Mitchell, which all due respect, I love Donovan Mitchell, 8 first-round draft picks for Donovan Mitchell, I'm sorry. Nope.
You lost me.
You lost me. Yep, can't do it. No. All right, well, we will, as always, continue to track all of that. I did say that we would talk about baseball as far as the product on the field, so I will kind of segue us into our picks of the week because last week we didn't have an episode, right? But I did text the guys to say, hey, who's going to win the home run derby? Who's going to win the All-Star game? I think, Josh, we had the exact same picks. We both went Pete Alonso for the three-peat in the home run derby. That did not happen. But the American League, who we both had, did win. Johnny went National League and...
They had to win sometime.
Yeah, apparently not. It was the American League winning 3-2. I don't remember who you picked in the home run derby. Either way, it was not close.
Jose Ramirez. I just didn't think it'd be Pete Alonso. Yeah. So I was like, let me...
I almost texted you guys and said, wait, Juan Soto's going to win because he's mad. He's going to just hit a ton of home runs, which he did. He won, so good for him. And then, yes, 2 weeks ago, we talked about the U.S. women's national team. They were playing Mexico. It was much closer than expected, a 1-0 victory, though, for the U.S., so that's good. I believe that gave them first place in Group A in the CONCACAF women's tournament. So, Johnny, you actually had the closest score. You said 3-1, a goal difference of 2 for you. The goal difference was actually 1. So you get a point there, which means our scoreboard is 37. Myself, I'm still in the lead with 37 points. Johnny, you're in second with 36. Josh, you're right there with 35 points. So as always, we're close in the standings. Much there. So, I guess kind of the Major League Baseball overview. It's truly the big markets that you have to watch for. It's both the New York teams, which is interesting. The race for the National League East between the Braves and the Mets is going to be fascinating in the second half. They play each other a ton in the second half of the season. I think they play I think they play one another 9 times in the next 15 days, something crazy. So you're going to get a pretty good feeling of who may emerge first in that division. Obviously, we joked about Jacob deGrom. He is expected back. He's doing another rehab start with the Syracuse Mets, so he's apparently coming back at some point soon, we think. But we've also thought that for a while. So yes, that's happening. The Yankees are just demolishing every team not named the Houston Astros. The Houston Astros apparently still their kryptonite, so we'll see if they end up in a postseason series. But, the Yankees are just killing it. And then 2 teams to watch for that are on the rise. The Baltimore Orioles are a 500 baseball team. They are trying their hardest in an incredibly difficult American League East. And then the Seattle Mariners. You thought this was the year they could finally get to the postseason. And then they fell flat on their face, only to win 14 games in a row, and they are right back in the thick of it. They are in a wild card spot right now if the season would end. So those are just kind of some overlying stories to watch. The Reds are horrible, which we've talked about probably most of any team, which is sad, but that's what you get when you have 3 guys from Ohio whose team sucks. So anyways, I think that's a very quick overview. Obviously, as we get closer to the Major League Baseball postseason, we'll take a deeper dive into some of those teams and matchups to watch out for and all that. But that's just kind of a high-level overview of what to watch for. Again, the Houston Astros doing well in the West. The Dodgers doing very Dodgers things. The Padres not doing too bad, and that's been without Fernando Tatis. So watch for that race as well. All right, now back to the picks of the week. It is time for another football match. And guys, it feels correct to pick a Columbus Crew match. I don't think we've done that this season, and it felt like the right thing to do since we talked about them so much earlier in the show. So they're playing a brand new Major League Soccer team. That is Charlotte FC. And as we do when we pick soccer, we are picking both the winning team and the score. I will start. I'm going to say Columbus wins 1-0. I know they had a big free agent signing that I'm sure Jonny will get into more. But as a general rule of thumb, this has been a team that has struggled to score but has defended well. They've tied like 100 games this season. But I'm going to say the Crew win 1-0. I believe this game is in Charlotte. The previous matchup was 1-1 between these two teams.
Yeah. So Josh, sorry, you're up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I originally had 2-0, and it's been a time, and I'm gonna speak about it. I went. You know what? It feels good to say I'm gonna win by 3-0. Win 3-0.
All right.
I was originally gonna say 2-0. Sometimes it's funny just to split the difference between what Aaron picks and what Jonny picks. But I never win when I do it dumb like that. And so I went with my heart.
Good for you.
And then my heart, like 3-0 felt good. Welcome to soccer, Charlotte. Glad to have you. Don't score.
Hey,
please.
I am glad to have Charlotte. Charlotte's a great city to have the addition in, and they're competing right off the bat, which is great. This is a good playoff race matters match. One of the fun things, if you don't follow MLS closely this year, is nobody's running away in either conference, really, especially not in the East. The Crew have really been struggling, like Aaron said, lots of ties, really struggling to score, kind of get out of their own way, at times even trading Jossie Zardes earlier in the season just to free up space for Cucho Hernandez, who they signed for a franchise record transfer fee. In his first 3 games, he scored 4 goals, so he's earning his money. Even though they tied last night 0-0, still improvement the Crew are building. They're in a playoff position currently, as is Charlotte, just ahead of them. So this would be a great match. The Crew have a lot of home games coming up, all with teams around them or above them in the table. So real critical part in the season for the Crew. Got to get 3 points in several of these. With that, I'm going to pick the Crew to win 2-1. Cucho will probably get at least 1 more goal here. Maybe that's me just hoping. And I think the Crew win 2-1 in a close one. They haven't given up a goal in 3 games, and probably is time that one slips through.
Yeah,
but I have Columbus coming through and winning 2-1.
Very good. Coming off, some momentum built from their previous win against KFC Cincinnati. So you love to see that. 2-0 was the score there. So excellent. I'm hoping to get to a game here in the next few weeks. We'll see. Speaking of, we talked about that Crew Stadium. I still have yet to go, so I want to make that happen. But anyways, all right. Time for what we're following, guys. I will kick us off. And I'm following, I'm kind of a big nerd when it comes to like uniform changes for like football. I love college football, like tracking all of the crazy uniforms that come out every year. And if you caught it last year, I did an article basically at the beginning of the year, like here's every single change in college football. We'll probably do that again because that was a lot of fun. And it's also fun to just kind of hear your thoughts. That's where we post some of that on Instagram. So make sure you're following us on Instagram at 5th and Goal Sports if you want to vote. Because specifically 13 new NFL helmets are coming out, with maybe more on the way. But basically the NFL got rid of a rule where you could only wear 1 helmet per year. And it had something to do with like a safety issue, which I don't fully understand and probably should have researched before the show. I did not. But anyways, that's the rule. So now there's a lot of NFL alternate helmets. And guys, I have to ask you, which one is the best? I think the obvious answer is the Cincinnati Bengals white helmet. And I think most people, even outside of our Ohio bias, would agree. I mean, that helmet is fantastic. That all white look, whenever they break that out, whew.
It better be all white. It better
be.
Yeah.
I will be
furious if it's not.
Everyone will be.
So that's the obvious answer. That one is just, it's an outstanding one.
Yeah.
If I can say the worst one.
Yeah, Chicago?
At least the worst. Yeah. That's it's orange on orange.
Oh,
they didn't even change the color of the sea.
It's bad.
It's not good. There's some other ones that I don't really love, but Chicago's is the all orange.
Yeah, no, not
I'm sorry.
fan.
I'm sorry, not a big fan.
Yeah.
Not a big fan.
Yeah, Josh, I didn't see anything from the Steelers, which might mean they're
I'm
coming out
looking
with
right now.
Well, yeah, I think part of this too is like
Dumb,
half the teams
black
are
and yellow striped.
right. Bumblebee helmet. Yeah, half the teams are
Yeah.
doing it this year. I believe there's probably another round next year. Like my Detroit Lions are not planning. I don't believe there's any plans for them to come out with the helmet this year. I've heard next year will be the plan for them. So that could be the same with the Steelers. But I would say honorable mention. I honestly kind of liked the Houston Texans. They went with red helmets. I thought those were pretty sweet. Now, I will need to see it on the field with now if they go all red, then that's probably going to be a bad look. They could mess it up. But I thought for a team that will be just horrible this year, probably not horrible. I mean, every other team went with like black helmets, so at least there was some originality there. So
I mean, they have that dark blue helmet, so going black wouldn't have done much of anything for them.
Right.
This can't be what I'm following. It objectively cannot be what I'm following because I have two things already.
Oh no.
But just Google right now, Pittsburgh Steelers new helmets.
Oh gosh.
And the first thing that comes is they are using a new helmet. They are in fact using a new helmet for training.
Okay.
And it's designed to help lessen like head trauma during practice.
Okay. I need to change my internet browser because that did not.
It should be black and a little bigger than you would normally expect a helmet to be.
There it is. Yeah, yeah. They're called Guardian helmets. That is something.
I mean, I've seen helmets like that before. They're much bigger. These seem like way bigger than the average one that they're
for sure.
wearing.
Yeah, this looks a little.
And I think typically you don't wear it over like your other helmet. Like I think you normally just wear it instead of, but I don't know. Anyway, yeah, that's
like
not what
it looks like. I mean, growing up playing
it's not
backyard
what they're
football
wearing in games,
and the helmets were just like humongous for the players. That's what it looks like.
Yeah. It's like your mom making you wear a like a coat over top your Halloween costume for trick or treating. You're like, oh, this ruins it.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Yeah, but it looks like the Steelers won't have new helmets this year.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it.
Yeah. I want to say they were all announced, but
yeah,
I think the Cowboys actually ended up with 2 new helmets somehow. They have
they're doing some
like a throwback and
or Christmas or whatever.
Yeah, that's probably what it is.
Jerry plays by different rules.
Yeah, he does. Anyways, that's what I'm following.
When it comes to helmets.
Yeah. Any honorable mentions other than Cincinnati?
I thought Arizona's was nice.
Yeah.
What did they?
I was like the red on black.
Oh yeah.
You know,
they had like the red
helmet.
paint.
They went black.
Freckles. Yeah.
It's pretty. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
that's pretty sharp.
Yeah.
Everybody went black pretty much. So
yeah.
I
will say the Carolina Panthers, that black is going to look sick.
Yes.
That one was good.
That one's awesome. Yeah. I really like that one. That's true. That's a good pick.
Runner up to worst is the Washington Commanders, but
no, actually that one is worse. That is worse. The W on the front, that's the worst.
Yeah.
The worst. But what I'm following this week is that wildlife hates me, and wildlife does hate me, in fact, specifically when I'm driving a motorized vehicle. And so this has included running over your general things. And listen, I love all of God's creatures, but they apparently have a death wish around me and my car. And so I've run over, general things that everybody has on accident: chipmunk, squirrel, probably a possum at some point. Mm-hmm. One time I hit a raccoon though, and it busted up my car really, really bad to where Aaron had to drive me to work for like a week.
This is correct. I can confirm.
Yeah. That was terrible. I've had a barn owl in the Smoky Mountains just kamikaze right into the side of my car, almost break the window. I got my car totaled last fall by a deer. I, hit several skunks. I had a bird do it again this week.
Oh my gosh.
Just into the windshield. And you know what? I have a lot less just sympathy for birds. They have all that airspace. At least creatures on the ground
They don't have to
as
be that low.
much to go. What are
Just
they
go
doing?
let's fly higher.
Anyway,
It's easy.
I would love to hear everybody else's stories and
Yeah.
their interactions with wildlife while driving cars. So let us know your worst interactions with wildlife, whether in a car, out of a car. Do they hate you? Please tell me if you think and agree with me, whether they hate me. I think they absolutely do. But let's hear your stories. Would love to hear some of those. So let us know on Twitter and tell us about some of your worst interactions with wildlife, and
There you
if
go.
they've also endangered your life like they have mine.
Oh, Johnny, I'm sorry. As someone who has been there either proximity nearby or literally in the car, I do feel for you. I really do. Also, when we're having these conversations, yeah, sure, let us know on Twitter. You can also let us know live. We do stream the podcast every Monday. Well, right now, when it's not football season, every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. So we've had a lot of folks join us live this episode. Appreciate that a lot. We always love hearing your comments as we record live. We love to kind of incorporate your feedback. So yeah, if you have thoughts on whatever we're talking about, whether it's baseball relocation or birds flying kamikaze into windows, we're here for all of it. So Johnny, thank you for sharing. So how bad is the damage to the car this time? Can I ask, or is it too painful to?
It's just a scratch.
Just a flesh wound.
I've heard that before.
Yeah.
It's just, that's how I describe this too. It's
yeah.
just a scratch. It'll be fine.
Buff it out.
Buff
Guys,
out this. Don't worry, Captain. We'll buff out the scratches.
Guys, I had a thing I was following.
Yeah.
And it was funny. Y'all are familiar with the Red Sox. And they did a really funny thing where they lost 28-5.
Yeah, they did.
It was funny because the person who threw the opening pitch that day was Sydney Sweeney, who is an actress. She was in Euphoria, or maybe is in Euphoria. I don't know. I don't have HBO. She was in like a Tarantino film a few years ago. Like, she apparently, rising star. Barstool's tweeted out as she was throwing out the first pitch. Sydney Sweeney has, thrown the pitch. We will never lose another game now. And then they promptly lost 28-5, including an in the park grand slam, which is a great thing to say. It's a fantastic thing to say. They lost a series. They got swept. They just finished up the last game yesterday as of this recording. They're not going to start a series with the Guardians, and I'm kind of hoping their playoff chances have already decreased.
Yeah, they're back to 500. They won a bunch of games in a row, and now they're back to 500.
Yeah, they were plus 4,000 to make the playoffs. Now they're plus 5,000. So they dropped a little bit. So I love that curse. It's funny. We always talk about that stuff. But then Klondike came out an hour ago as of this recording. They're getting rid of the Choco Taco.
What?
The Choco Taco is no more. Literally July 25th. That's today of this recording.
Yeah.
On Christmas in July.
Yeah.
Klondike decided at 5:56 p.m. to say the Choco Taco no longer. It has been sold for, I want to say, since 1983, almost 40 years.
Wow.
And it was even sold at Taco Bell. Yeah, I just pulled up this article. I just found it. I'm so sad.
Josh, again, as someone who's very ignorant, what's a Taco?
Thank you for asking, Johnny. I'd love to tell you. The Choco Taco is a delicious little treat. I've not had them many times because ice cream trucks never made it into our neighborhood. But occasionally I could.
Existence.
It's a sad existence. It's okay. We also didn't trust him. It was a really, really bad fan. It was really sketchy. So even when he did come around, we're like, no. I like this house. I do not like being kidnapped. I'm not gonna go near your weird fan. But I would go to camp, and at camps they had Choco Tacos. It is literally a waffle cone shell shaped like a hard taco. It is filled with ice cream with some dulce de leche, little caramel swirls. And then you think, oh, it's open, like a normal taco. It's just gonna fall out. No, they dip the open side of the taco in a chocolate nut mixture. and it's fantastic.
It's really good.
And it's delicious.
Johnny, I'm
It is
surprised you
so
know. I
good.
swear they had them at summer camp. I could have
Where do
sworn
I
they
get
did.
one of these?
Well, no more. You
No,
can't.
yeah.
Yeah, go to your local corner store or your local gas station and buy as many as you can now.
Yeah.
I might have to go to my 7-Eleven after this just to see if there's anyone there. It's I'm gonna see if they have an end day for this.
Yeah, they have to give us a heads up. Maybe they're
there's-
lying to increase sales.
Maybe it's one of those things where there's no way. It's the brands thing where they
I feel
fake.
like is that
It's like
trending
what
right now?
like
That seems like something that's
oh, it
gotta
has to be.
trending.
No, check that it's trending. Yeah.
I will.
No, it's like what did like Vince McMahon or who is in charge of WWE?
Yeah.
The guy who retired and then 5 minutes later unretired. Like it's all just a show. I hope it's just a show. Otherwise, I don't know where Klondike is based out of, but we're all going to Alaska, guys.
Is it because they're still there, or because if we fly really fast, we'll cut through some time zones and we'll still have time to get Choco Tacos?
Exactly what I'm thinking. The second one.
Okay.
I've been listen since the James Webb Telescope like photos have come out. I've been doing nothing but researching space.
Guys, it's
and watching Interstellar. Like
number
I think I
one,
can-
WWE Raw. Number 2, The Bachelorette, which is currently where my wife is live tweeting from. Number 3,
That's fair.
Choco Taco. So there you go.
right.
Yep.
Oh, see, that's mine is interesting. That's not what mine is. Mine is WWE,
Yeah.
Jerusalem,
Oh,
Anglican Communion.
are you on the personalized trends there? Josh?
Always, always.
All right. Well, there you have it.
See, my trending, they just gave up. Yeah, even on the other trending page.
Yeah.
Oh no, there we go. Finally.
Well, that's sad. I'm sorry.
really
Josh.
sad.
That's really sad. Like the fact
It's
that
really
they think
sad.
they
Like,
can
I'm
take that away
literally
from
not-
us is is just horrible. You're right. The real tragedy is on Christmas in July when we're all trying to celebrate. It's 105 degrees in Texas. Someone needs.
It's
you need some
billion
hope.
degrees.
You need some hope in life. So you know what
And
we're
where'd
gonna
that
do?
hope go?
We're gonna wrap up this episode, but we're gonna wrap it up by playing you a little Christmas music for happy July 25th. So, yeah, Johnny, you can take
Hey,
your
Johnny-
bad attitude and
Johnny,
take it somewhere else because
You don't have to listen to it again until December, all right?
Yeah,
You can
that's
take
right.
your negativity and we'll play a royalty-free version of Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You.
Yeah, I want to say it's future editing. Aaron's got this all under control. I'm sure it's probably Jingle Bells, but
Don't you have, I mean, in real time, don't you have a Christmas album that you put out?
well, yes, kind of, but it's not. I just played music from what other people have written previously. So
Oh, still copyright.
yes, copyright. So, anyways, all right. Well, it's time that I fade us out.
Oh, I'm chilly already.
Yeah. Oh, isn't this nice? All right. We'll see you guys next week. Have a good one. YouTube, thanks for hanging out with us. Great to see a lot of you hanging out. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Appreciate it. We'll see you guys next week. And, well, really, hopefully this whole week. That's the goal, is to have videos this whole week. But we'll see you live next week. Thanks for being here. Talk to you later.
This is 72.